There's something quietly powerful about people who grew up in the 1970s, and psychology can genuinely explain why. If you were raised in that decade, your brain developed during a once-in-a-lifetime window in human history, a period where childhood was shaped by extreme freedom paired with real responsibility. There were no phones buzzing in pockets, no constant adult oversight, no digital entertainment filling every gap. Instead, there was time, silence, curiosity, and the expectation that children would learn by doing. That's why people from the 70s often look at modern life and smile, not mockingly, but knowingly, because they experienced something that cannot truly be recreated. A childhood so open and unstructured that decades later people still say things like, "We had no idea how lucky we were," or "I'd give anything to go back." Or the phrase that captures it perfectly, "We drank hose water, ran wild, and somehow turned out fine." What made that era special wasn't that it was safer or easier, but that it trusted children to grow into themselves. Self-directed, problem-solving. Psychologists often point first to self-directed problem-solving, a trait that started with a phrase every 70s kid remembers. Go find something to do. Boredom wasn't treated as a crisis that adults needed to fix. It was treated as a challenge for the child. Complaining about boredom usually meant being handed a broom or a stack of chores, so you learned quickly how to solve the problem on your own. Research on unstructured childhood shows that kids who had to invent their own entertainment developed stronger executive function, creativity, adaptability, and initiative. You weren't scheduled minute by minute. You created entire days from nothing, riding bikes until the sun started dropping, wandering streets with friends, disappearing into books for hours, building forts out of scrap wood and imagination. Your brain learned something rare and powerful, how to create purpose instead of waiting for someone else to provide it. Adaptive risk calibration. That creativity blended seamlessly with adaptive risk calibration. You climbed trees that were too tall, jumped from places you probably shouldn't have, rode bikes without helmets, played rough games with unclear rules, got into scrapes, lit fireworks, and learned by experience. Developmental psychology shows that children exposed to physical risk during play grow into adults with better threat assessment and lower baseline anxiety. Your nervous system learned the difference between real danger and manageable discomfort. You didn't learn safety through warning labels or constant intervention. You learned it by falling, failing, adjusting, and trying again. Fear didn't always mean stop. Sometimes it meant slow down, pay attention, and figure it out. Comfort with solitude. Another defining trait is comfort with solitude, something modern life is quietly erasing. You spent long stretches of time alone, listening to full albums from beginning to end, walking aimlessly, lying in the grass staring at the sky, letting your thoughts wander without interruption. Not because you were lonely, but because nothing was constantly competing for your attention. Studies show people raised before constant connectivity experience significantly less anxiety when alone with their thoughts, while many modern adults feel restless or distressed without stimulation. You learned early that boredom isn't an emergency and silence isn't something to escape. That empty space became imagination, reflection, emotional regulation, and self-awareness, analog patience. From that calm came analog patience, a skill so subtle you probably never noticed it forming. You waited an entire week for your favorite show and talked about it for days beforehand. You took photos and waited days or weeks to see if they turned out. You memorized phone numbers, wrote letters, waited for replies, stood in long lines without entertainment, and accepted delays as normal. Research on delayed gratification consistently links waiting with stronger impulse control, healthier relationships, emotional resilience, and long-term success. Waiting gave things meaning. Anticipation gave joy depth. Nothing felt disposable or rushed. Unsupervised autonomy. Everything ties together with unsupervised autonomy, the defining feature of that era. You left the house in the morning with one simple rule: be home before the streetlights came on. No GPS, no tracking, no constant check-ins. You rode miles on bikes, crossed creeks, explored woods, navigated social conflicts, made judgment calls, solved problems, and dealt with consequences on your own. Research on childhood independence shows that freedom of movement builds resilience, internal motivation, confidence, and critical thinking. Your parents weren't your friends. They were authorities who trusted you to be capable, and over time that trust became self-trust. Why it still shows today. So when you look at today's world and sometimes feel out of place, remember this: you're not outdated. You're equipped. What looks like emotional distance is competence. What looks like comfort with silence is depth. What looks like patience is discipline. What looks like independence is resilience. You didn't survive that childhood by accident. It shaped how you think, how you respond to stress, and how you move through the world. A childhood that can't be recreated. For a brief moment in human history, childhood was both wild and formative, risky and resilient, free and grounding. You experienced something rare, a world where kids were trusted, capable, and independent, where imagination replaced screens and experience replaced instruction. And that's why so many people still say it with pride instead of regret, without hesitation or doubt. The 1970s truly were the best time to grow up.